Hello, everyone. I am Brittany, also known as Be Right Breeze, and I have my sister with me, Genia Wright, the only Genia Wright.
Hi, everybody.
So we are back, you guys. Listen, if you are back here with us for season three, we know you're loving us.
Yeah,
Okay? Yeah,
of
yeah.
course you are.
You like listening to our
Yeah,
reviews about
super fun.
Issa Rae and her friends and their shenanigans. So I do want to officially welcome you to our Insecure season three recap refresher.
Mm,
Super excited to jump into this season and just talk more about it. And as you can see, we are getting closer and
yeah,
closer to season four.
so close.
We're so close.
Oh,
Oh, you
oh,
wait.
oh, yeah, we coming
Oh,
for you,
you
season
wait.
four. Oh,
And
yeah.
I will tell you, just to give you just a little bit of a spoiler,
Hmm.
uh, this is also about to catch my sister off guard. Our brother, our brother has said that he wants to talk about one of the episodes and be featured.
Oh,
Okay, in
mm,
our Zoom conversation
mm.
about season four. He's being fancy. He's being,
Hey,
so we'll have a feature coming up for you guys.
nice. Oh, that's gonna be good.
You
That's
will
gonna
see
be good.
all the
And I
right
and I
children.
just want to tell you
We
right
don't
now,
apologize.
whatever he says, I disagree. I'm
Yeah.
just giving you that in advance. I don't agree with him.
You
So
will legitimately see how we've been our entire lives
yeah,
when
he's
he gives
wrong.
them.
He's incorrect.
And I probably won't have
I'm
anything to
sure of
say.
it. Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Everything
I'm
you
sure.
said.
I'm sure he's wrong. So I'll
He's wrong.
tell him that when it happens.
So let's just jump right in. Something I do want to say is that season three definitely has some pivotal scenes, like all the seasons have. One of those pivotal scenes was that we have the Coachella. They
Mm.
attended Coachella,
Mm-hmm.
and we also have a pivotal scene being with, oh, I can't remember right now, Janelle. What's the other pivotal scene
Tiffany's
of the
baby shower.
Thank you. I'm like, there is a major scene. I can't remember, but
Yeah,
Tiffany's baby shower.
that was a
And
big culminating and shifting moment
for
for sure.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hear us coming in and out of those scenes, giving you different perspectives of each of one of the characters within Insecure.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to start off with our girl, the main character, our love, the mogul,
Oh,
Issa Rae,
yes.
as Issa D in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start off with her professional life, you guys. So she's still working at We Got Y'all, but
Mm-hmm.
she is still in trouble from having her segregated workshops. And Frida is slowly but surely getting into her new role. At her job, though, Issa is talking to Frida as, have you spoke with Joanne, their manager that's over everything, the
And the
founder of We
founder.
Got Y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And have you spoke with her about me being able to get back in the field? And Frida's response, which is understandable, is listen, I'm new to the role. I really don't want to rock the boat right now.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm getting things in, just give me a little time. And so we find that Issa is in this very odd spot at work where she's not allowed to do anything. She's only allowed to make telephone calls and do paperwork. However, because she is the only Black person and they're trying to work with Black and Brown children, they look to her to still be the voice of Black and Brown children on what they will like and what they will not like. So it is still looking to her for advice, but also saying you cannot do these different things. We also see Joanne treating Issa very harshly. We know that her coworkers are not the greatest and they're not great at work ethic. They're very rude. And even when Issa's making telephone calls, there are several schools that say, hey, we don't want We Got Y'all here because it's not sensitive to the culture. You've had people to come in here who have been very rude, and all of your counterparts are white. That is not something we want at our school. So even when Issa comes in and goes in with these concerns, Joanne is immediately yelling at her and saying, everything that is happening that has been a problem or negative here is always stemming from you. Now, you guys, we know that that is not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And to say those things to Issa when she has been the driving force behind getting some really great things to happen within We Got Y'all, to then say her the worst things that have been happening when you have schools that won't even let you in to their school anymore, and you're a nonprofit program, you're not even asking them for anything, you're asking to give a service. The fact that you would treat her in that way, it really speaks volumes to what can happen in these workplaces where for Black people, being careful not to get too comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Also being careful to understand that your one wrong thing is 1,000 wrong things for someone else who is not Black. So you
Mm-hmm.
can do mess up one time and do have just done something amazing, but then experience at this workplace some awful things. So with that being
Absolutely.
said,
And the other piece of it is like, it's like Joanne's qualification of things going wrong. What she's really talking about is moments of discomfort and growth for the
yes,
organization. And
yes,
so she's basically saying, my gosh, every single time something that is of value to me is called into question, Issa, you're there. And what the schools that they have been working with, the things they're questioning are things like the racist logo of the organization, which literally has a white hand. Joanne says it's her hand holding three little Black silhouettes of children. And even the name of the organization being named We Got Y'all, when it is a bunch of white staff coming into schools with children of color saying, we got y'all. So you're now using like, this language,
slang.
slang that is not your slang. Um, and, words like y'all are not necessarily, it's not necessarily Black slang, but that phrase, we got y'all, that is Black slang.
Yeah.
And so it really is an inappropriate kind of co-opting of language. And one of the schools that offered some feedback about the programming said the programming was Eurocentric in nature.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so Joanne, you're getting a ton of feedback, and maybe, Issa was taking a step to go and collect some of that feedback. And maybe these are things that she's been voicing all along. But to say that the moments of discomfort and the moments of questioning of your values are things that are evidence of Issa creating issues, that's really a problem. And
Yes.
there's a book written by this wonderful author, a white woman named Robin DiAngelo, and the book is called White Fragility. And it's all about that. It's about the way that white people uh, struggle with understanding whiteness when it's being called
Mm-hmm.
out,
Yes.
because whiteness is not something that gets called out. Whiteness
Yeah.
is reality. And so Blackness is
You should
something
just be
that
okay with it.
we're people of color are able to articulate what it means to be a person of color, because we have to keep doing it all the time.
Yep.
Whereas white people never have to explain whiteness. And so the skill set it's a skill set that has to be built. And so what we're also watching is Joanne, someone who has dedicated herself professionally to helping people, learning that she still has some growing to do. And that's
Yes.
uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable. But I
Yes.
do appreciate that by the end of the season, We Got Y'all is leaning into making changes. They have at least changed the
Yes.
logo. They have at least started to recruit some people of color into the organization.
Yes.
But guess what? They don't do it in time, because eventually, during the course of the season, Issa starts to say, you know what? Good for you, We Got Y'all, that you're finally starting to hear some of the things that I've been saying all along, and good for you that you're evolving. But it doesn't matter, because I've never been fully engaged with this work.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because part of her getting to that revelation, I mean, we since we met Issa, she's been disillusioned with that organization. I mean,
Yes.
since that organization lived in Awkward Black Girl, the web series, she's never been fully engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
So her lack of engagement with the organization, that's not new. But what is new is her starting to get some ideas about other things where she could have some energy professionally.
Yes.
there's a scene where they're actually at a recruitment fair. Frida in her new leadership role, and Issa, of course, as the Black person of the organization, she had to be at the
Yes.
People of Color recruitment fair.
But
And
of course.
they're recruiting people of color, and Issa actually starts to see some organizations that are doing a better job of reaching young people of color, and she starts to get energized. And actually, later in the episode, she ends up quitting We Got Y'all,
Yes.
and she eventually goes and applies for a job with one of those nonprofits that,
Yep.
frankly, was doing a better job of meeting young people of color where they are, but also it embraced something that is important to her, which is music. We all know she
Yes.
loves music, and so
She loves music.
she loves music.
She
So
loves music.
so we see in season 3 her journey with We Got Y'all come to an end.
Yeah.
So, but it does start to open up some space for some entrepreneurial ventures, sis.
Absolutely. So we now see Issa driving Lyft, which for many people, we know that that is a great side hustle for some people. But for
Big
many people,
time.
they have made it into their full-time position. You get to own your hours. You get to own, there are just different things that now you get to do for someone who's like an Issa, who is more creative. She is more somebody that needs a little more space and time. And she's also just in a place in life where she's trying to figure it out.
Yep.
And so to not have to be burdened by a 9 to 5, especially one that you do not like, you're not finding fulfillment or enjoyment from it. You're now having the opportunity to drive Lyft. But what Lyft does, which is something Issa is great at, is give her opportunity to meet new people. So you get to see the colorful people that she's meeting throughout driving through LA. But there is one actual particular driver, one actual particular passenger, rider that does become that becomes an actual character in the show, which is Nathan. And so from there, we can actually, and Nathan has become someone who ends up encouraging her in terms of her professional life. When she's feeling a little bit nervous and scared about this event that she's wanting to put on, he's encouraging her, get the forms, go find out, ask people. So she's gaining this confidence to try to do something new out the box. What her goal is, that venture, is to create a concert that's similar, like a mini Coachella,
a block
party. She wants to have a block party right in the area that is beginning to experience, as we've seen over the seasons and we've mentioned, heavy gentrification.
Inglewood.
And so she's Inglewood. I would. So in Iwood, she wants to be able to have this great block party with a great headliner and bring something to the neighborhood that you always have to travel out of Inglewood to experience. But what she's being met with is, which a lot of entrepreneurs and people who have great ideas are met with, which are no's. And so sometimes you can persevere hard through those no's. But then sometimes those no's, they come and they hurt and they can get you off course. And so you see her struggling back and forth with getting on and off course. Part of while she's a little off course in her professional life, she starts to go, listen, I'm no longer with We Got Y'all. I need a new job, but I also need a place to stay. She finds a property management position to where she is able to live for $750 in LA, okay? Let's be clear. Like, that is how much you pay somewhere else for a 1-bedroom apartment. But where the actual apartment is $1,500, because she's a property manager and the tenants will be, and she'll be on call. She is able to have that slice and rent, which is exactly what she needs at this time in her life. So with that, she is able to start this new job. But with going into that, having Nathan, and then speaking about our current living situation, then I think this will be a great time to get into her more romantic parts of life.
Absolutely. Because at the end of season 2, she is living with Daniel. But throughout the beginning, and at the beginning of season 3, she's still living with him. She's living with him, and they go through a couple of different phases. They start out in the phase where she's sleeping on the couch and he's having sex with other women. It makes her uncomfortable. She voices that concern. They then go through a phase where
Can I just say one thing, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
He's not having sex. He is having the F word. Okay, there are some serious things that are just unnecessary. That are just
Well, I think it's
happening
necessary
in that room.
I
Okay,
mean,
it's necessary.
tomato, different strokes, different folks. But
You're right.
yeah,
It's necessary, but is it necessary when someone is sitting there on your couch? Like, let them
it's a
know
weird
something
dynamic.
is.
It's a weird dynamic.
It's a weird dynamic.
Very weird, and that's why platonic male-female relationships are just
Ooh,
fraught, and especially when it's someone you used to be
you've
with
already
physically.
gone. Yeah.
So it's like, in addition to him doing some serious effing, okay, he's doing it like she's in the room, she can hear it. She tells him that makes her uncomfortable. They end up going through a phase where he then is sleeping away from the place. And to the extent that their cohabitation was enjoyable, she's now not getting that. She's not getting any Daniel time. So she then expresses a discomfort with that. And he's like, okay, well, all right, once again. So then they go into another phase where, in addition to her being able to have his energy whenever she wants, now she gets to sleep in the bed too. And so the two of them are having a non-sexual relationship, sleeping in the same bed together in Daniel's apartment. And so what is this doing? It's really reestablishing their friendship.
Yeah.
And what is it that makes romantic relationships between men and women fraught is solid friendship. Because friendship is chemistry, and chemistry is the beginning of sexual tension. And so, of course, they're sleeping in the same bed. She's absolutely attracted to him sexually. He's still attracted to her. And they're having these wonderful moments of great sexual connection. And there's a moment where he starts to lean into that. And she kind of says, you know what? Let's not. Okay. And that's actually right around the same time where she says, it's time for me to leave here. And she ends up taking that wonderful property manager job, which really allows her to start to get a level of independence. And frankly, if she was going to move into a romantic relationship with Daniel, they would probably need that distance anyway. So anyway, her just moving out, it's good for everybody. And she says that. He agrees. He fights it. He fights it.
Yeah.
He fights it, but he agrees, Yeah.
So I do have a question for you, Genia. As we're speaking about Daniel, because I know we're going to continue in Issa's romantic life, there was a scene where Issa's friends say to her, listen, you're living with Daniel. Now you're thinking about being romantically involved with him. And they all emphatically, they say, do not do it. Do you agree with her friends?
One thing is for sure. My personal opinion is that I think that friends, getting feedback from friends is very important. But I also think your journey is your journey. And so I appreciate their feedback, but I think she's got to make the decision. And so I would say, like, outside looking in, which is all a friend can ever do, I understand their perspective. I understand, because what they're saying is, Issa, you have said this is a vicious cycle that you want to stop. And so as your friend, I want to support you in stopping the vicious cycle. And so stop it. Stop making decisions that keep putting you in that spiral with Daniel, because you all ultimately land in a place where your whatever compatibility you have is not something that yields the result that you want. So I understand her friend saying that, but I also understand Issa saying, you aren't there. You don't understand our dynamic. And so when I'm telling you that it feels different, it does feel different. And I need you to believe me when I'm saying that. So I see both sides of this. I really do. And I think that's probably what makes the show so good, because I could have seen the show moving forward in either direction. Her and Daniel evolving.
So true.
Or the two of them taking some space. But let me just go ahead and say, I'm happy they did get some space, because it created an opportunity for Nathan to come in. And Brittany, you started talking about Nathan a little bit. Do you want to move into him a little bit more? This wonderful,
Sure.
it starts off as a Lyft passenger in her car, and it
Yes.
evolves into much more.
It does. So Nathan starts off as just a random Lyft passenger, and he is actually a night that Molly is riding along with Issa, and so they call it the party lift.
And
So they're
just so you
picking up
know, sis, I just quick tangent. I want you to know I would never do that. Let's just
what?
say that
You would never do what?
a good friend of mine is driving Lyft or Uber. I would not come along with you. So I just wanted to tee that up for any one of my friends that might watch this and wonder, would Janiyah be the kind of friend that would ride along on a Lyft with me? The answer is no, I would not.
Uh,
Okay, please continue. I just wanted to make sure the record
I
was clear.
listen.
That's awful. I would
I
never do
can't
it.
I
I'm not
can't
saying
say
I wouldn't
anything.
drive Lyft on my own, because I would. I think it's a wonderful hustle, and it's something I've actually considered. Now, I don't have a car right now, so that's a barrier to that. But because I live in New York,
That's an
but
issue.
it is, so
That's
that's
an
why that
issue
math doesn't work.
because you
So
gotta have a lift,
you have to
have a
have
car,
so for people to get
and
in,
send people to
because if
get
you're
in,
not,
and you could
that's how the
drive
whole
to them.
equation. So that's
It
why
makes
it's
it,
not
and you
something I
need a
would.
place to put the sticker. If
And
you don't
then
have a place to put the sticker,
and the little light, the lift light, because then people
exactly.
know that
If you
that
don't,
you're driving. So you're right.
exactly.
So then
If
some
you
of
don't
it
have
doesn't work
that,
for me right
exactly.
now. For
Right
me right
now.
now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
hating
Mm-hmm.
on that, because let the record show I would drive Lyft and I would be an Uber driver, especially in New York. You can do quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not off the table for me as a potential life hustle. But I am
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
saying, if someone in my life asks
Uh-huh.
about that
Uh-huh.
hustle opportunity, I'm not going to ride around with you. I have other things I need to be doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Listen,
I have many other things.
I am on the other side of this screen. I actually have rode around with someone, and they were driving Uber, and we made it into the party Uber, and we had a grand time.
Sure, you did.
Some people truly enjoyed it, and I would like to say I was helpful in getting some of those 5 stars.
Were
I
you?
would
Were
like to
you?
put that out there. I think I was a very fun
No.
addition to the
Mm-mm,
mix.
mm-mm. And let all Uber drivers know that if I get in your Uber and you're hanging out with one of your friends, you have violated the
Getting
terms
out?
of our agreement.
Okay.
It's going to
Okay.
impact your stars.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right.
just my
Just
feeling
have
on
it in
it.
there.
That's
Okay.
my feeling on it.
All right. I
So
see I
that's
see where
one
she's
girl.
coming from.
That's one girl's feeling.
I see where she's coming from.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
didn't sign up for
Well,
a
in this
party.
in this
Okay.
particular situation,
Mm-hmm.
they like to party in
They're
LA.
having a good time. I'm not going to lie
They're
to you.
having a good time.
They're having a good time.
So you meet
It
Dale.
seems enjoyable.
This is enjoyable. You meet, excuse me, Nathan's character. And Nathan, you find out quickly that he is not from LA because he immediately makes a statement, oh, y'all LA people. And they're like, what? So they're immediately getting into that nice little banter of like, well, where are you from? We do find out that Nathan is from Houston, Texas. And so as time goes on, there is a situation that happens in the Uber that Nathan gets into a fight with a fellow Uber
That's just the
passenger.
problem with party Ubers.
Too much partying. The person that got in the Uber, he thought that it was a party and decided to, queue up a little reefer. And
Yes.
it was like, oh no.
Roll a
Issa was
blunt,
like,
as the
we
kids
don't
say.
do
Yeah.
run. Issa was like, could you put that out? The guy said, no, you said this was a party. Nathan said the lady said put it out, took his weed, threw it out the window. Well, of course the two got into a fight. But Nathan towed him up. As they pulled over, Nathan ran away. You don't see Nathan anymore. However, before they were going to pick up that next passenger, they had kind of commandeered Nathan's phone and said, oh, you're about to go eat at some trash place. You need to eat at this place that we're about to tell you about. And it's much closer and you're going to love it. So fast forward, Issa goes to this place because it's close to her job and she sees Nathan and they get into a conversation and basically she spends the afternoon with him. And this is one of those moments that you see in a rom-com. Everything we're talking about is amazing. I'm sharing some of my deepest secrets with you. I'm sharing intimate moments with you. I'm even showing you about my life. My life in the sense that she took him to where she grew up. You're finding out more about Issa. You already know that she grew up kind of wealthy. But you're
Middle
also
class, middle class
middle
sis.
class. She grew up, excuse my apologies. She grew up middle class.
Mm-hmm.
So nice home with a pool in it, where her parents worked hard for that home and to buy that home and to give her and Amal a better life. And so she pulls up to the house where they used to live, and she
We
tells
also
Nathan,
learned that her parents got divorced when she was 16. We didn't know that
yes,
specific
we didn't
fact.
know that. We knew that they weren't together, but
Mm-hmm.
to know when, because that's a pivotal, that's a huge. And so as they're at the house and they're just kind of looking at it, he basically goes, "Oh, you guys have a pool?" And they basically go into the backyard of his home and they go skinny dipping. Now, while they're in the skinny dipping moment, they're having more conversation about, it's like a truth or dare situation, or what they like to call truth or truth. So you're learning more about Nathan, and that he left Houston after that really bad recent hurricane that happened, that flooded so many homes and changed so many lives. And he was one of those, and he said, I didn't have any reason to stay. I didn't have anything connecting me there, so I came. I've always wanted to come to LA. And I like it, but it's just not that great. Well, during this interaction, she does tell him about Coachella and how you need to experience that, and then you'll really start to love it out here, those different types of things. Well, after this interaction, they text each other once, and then they don't hear from him anymore. She doesn't hear from him anymore. What I love about Insecure is that Insecure will literally, they go into the minds of people, and they
Mm-hmm.
show you what happens after you've had this great time with someone. You're like, oh my God. If you're someone that's looking for love, you're almost in a place where you're like, you know what? Finally, even if this doesn't go anywhere, I'm at least having a great time. You have this amazing time with someone, and then all of a sudden, where'd you go? Where did you go? Where did you come
Ghost.
from? And where did you go?
Mm-hmm.
And so Issa at this moment, she has had to basically talk herself into moving forward. He hasn't responded to her text messages, so that's what she's doing. But then all of her and her friends, they go to Coachella. What happens? She gets a text message from Nathan randomly saying, "Hey, got a ticket at this hotel party. I decided to come because of you." So she changes the plans of her friends to go to this hotel party to see Nathan. When she sees him, she kind of confronts him, and she's like, "Listen, what's going on? Where you been?" And he doesn't really talk too much about it. It's just kind of like, well, I didn't hear from you either, so
He
I thought I
said,
came on too strong.
yeah, he said
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he didn't want to come off as thirsty. He was like, I didn't
Yes,
want to come off as thirsty, and I didn't know, how aggressively to follow up, and So it
yeah,
was just one of those things. He got in his head in the same way she
exactly,
had gotten into hers, and she
exactly.
understood that, which I think any of us could understand.
And then you're able to move forward from there. And
Mm-hmm.
there they are again. They have another amazing moment. Now,
Yep.
I would like to say they're both hopped up on some drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that, they're having this moment that sparks off just what seems to be just this amazing potential relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the scene at Coachella, honey. Okay. I've never been to Coachella, but we know in general
You
what it
got the
is.
gist. Yeah.
You get the gist. And there's a Ferris wheel where they're there, because it's like outside, almost like you're at a fair. Baby, this Ferris wheel, okay? This Ferris wheel was a scene. It was a scene that made you clutch your pearls like, ooh, Issa. Can I go to the Ferris wheel next week?
Yeah, they got some action on that Ferris wheel
They got some action
because
on that Ferris
the
wheel.
Ferris wheel, and this is why Ferris wheels, I don't like a transportable Ferris wheel. I don't like the thought of it. If a Ferris wheel is just there and it's a part of the infrastructure of a place, well, that's one thing. But
But
somebody done unpacked it off of a truck. I don't like the sound of that. And
You're like,
it seemed to be that kind of Ferris wheel. I don't know if it was a fairground that is like a year-round fairground or what, but it seemed like it wasn't, because the girl who was running the Ferris wheel said, "Oh, I just got to go get a backup battery."
a backup battery, because the Ferris wheel did stop, which gave them the opportunity to have such encounter.
It literally stopped. Action on the Ferris wheel. And it was
Yes.
hot. It was hot.
It was, yes.
It was
It was
very
hot.
hot. It was very hot. And it was hot, and something about the fact that they were on drugs enabled them to open up a lot.
Yes.
And so in addition to what the physical connection, they were sharing, and she was talking, sharing a lot about her thought, her inner thoughts. And when they got back from Coachella, they continued to
Yes.
have a depth of relationship.
Yes.
That experience with the drugs and their first date being another long day, epic date, they are moving pretty quickly in terms of depth of emotional connection.
Yes.
And he is actually the one that finally says, "You know what? I really like you. I really like you. And I don't know how you know when something is real, but and he's like, listen, I wasn't even going to say it because I don't know if you're supposed to say it, but this feels real to me." Like, they
It
have a
feels
moment
good.
initiated by Nathan where they even
Yeah.
just acknowledge the fact that they've gone deep pretty quickly, and they've had some
Yes.
really special experiences. But then what happens again? Once again, and it's so interesting. There's a quick little point I have to point out. There was a piece when Issa was when Issa was living with Daniel. There was a moment where Daniel was having some professional transition challenges. He was, not having the traction and progression he wanted in his career as a producer. They encounter a friend that they used to know from back in the day that actually has had some success, but was formerly Daniel's protege. His name was Khalil. Um, and Issa plays a role in supporting him through, managing his pride and doing what it takes to try to get an
Yes.
opportunity professionally. And so we got to see that couple centric kind of support.
Yes.
Issa providing that to someone. Now we're in this experience with Nathan, and Nathan is providing that kind of support to her. She's
Yes.
trying, she's quit We Got Y'all, and she's as we said earlier, developing this idea, nurturing this idea in her head of this block party, Coachella inspired block party that she'd have in Inglewood. And we see Nathan being a real support to her. So again, they've just got this depth of relationship. He's like feeding her professional inspiration or personal inspiration. And then he disappears. He disappears, and
Disappears, you guys.
completely disappears. I mean, and the thing is, she does what many do, and she's watching him on social media. So she sees that his life is continuing to progress, but he is not calling. He is not texting. She has no information as to why. She starts doing some whacked out stalkerish things. She comes up with this plot with Molly and Cahoots where they actually go to his place, and she's like in his place looking around his stuff. She's spinning out because she hasn't heard from him. And she knows that the Lyft company is investigating the fight that happened in her car that involved him.
Yes.
So there's just all of these questions like, where is Nathan? Why isn't he engaging? But he's not engaging. He's not. He is not. He is not engaging. But what ends up happening though, right at the end of the season, he does reappear. He does reappear. But at that point, it has been a solid month of no communication. And we have watched her go through the whole, the independent breakup process that you have to go through when you can't get actual closure with a person. She's gone through now the whole process of, did I do it? Was it something I did? She goes through the anger phase. She goes through all the phases of loss, right? And she's trying to move on, and he reappears. He reappears. There's a scene where Molly actually stops him from going to engage with Issa when he's just ready to reappear
On her birthday.
But eventually he does kind of come back, and he tries to have a moment of reconciliation. What did you think of that moment, sis? When it's after Molly tried to successfully blocked him from coming through.
Oh, she absolutely did.
But he does end up, Issa gives him permission to come and engage for a moment and talk. What did you think of that attempt at reconciliation on his part?
So it was one of those circumstances to me where you then have to have a conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I had such great moments with you, but you literally left. In that moment,
For
you
a
guys,
month.
he's
Not
for
a
a
week.
month with no words. And I know that you're not dead because I see a new post
You ain't
that you put
dead.
on your Instagram of cutting someone's hair. And I know that through the investigation that they spoke with you that day. So then in this moment, I now am realizing you've just been ignoring me and you just haven't been contacting me. It's not like before when it was, I didn't want to seem too thirsty. It is now a moment of, I have disappeared. So now what this is looking like is a trend. So me as someone, if I'm Issa who is trying to become better, she's trying to start living her best life,
Create new
learning
cycles.
what she loves.
Reinvent, just going back into the old
Exactly.
cycles.
She's been working at We Got Y'all for 5 years. That has been her life. That has been her bread and butter. She has been she was with someone for 5 years. They're no longer together. She is living this life now that says, I can't be in the past anymore. What
Mm-hmm.
you did, sir, was inexcusable. And his reasoning, which we could understand, was that I just was going through some things. I had some really, emotional things that I needed to deal with. I didn't want to bring you into that. All of that is well and good, but Issa's saying you could have invited me in to that space with you. You didn't even give me the opportunity to let you know if this was enough or if it was too much. You didn't give me that. You just disappeared.
I mean, even
And
just the
so
message of, I need some space, and I hope you can understand that. But even if you can't, let me just say it so
at
that you're
least
not,
say that.
you're not out there just wondering what's going
Yes.
on and whether I'm dead
What's
in a ditch
happening?
or whether it's another person.
Exactly.
Just say I need some
That's
space.
it. So Issa's handling of saying, you know what? I really need some time to think about this. I need some time to myself. When I tell you, it gave me liberation watching her do that because we're now seeing Issa do something she has not done, at least that we know of, which is be on her own.
Yep.
Starting to live life on her own
Yep.
terms.
Yep.
She is planning this event. She's trying to figure it out. She's just turned 29. This is all happening around her birthday. She's just having these moments. She is like, I am going to really clean up Issa. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that becomes like a, what is it, kind of a, what is the word I'm looking for when people just say it all the time? The
It's,
oh,
yeah,
I'm
it's like
working
a
on me.
cliche. It's
A
like a,
cliche is the word I'm looking for.
yeah.
But no, Issa goes into her home after she's done with them, and as a visual representation of her really letting go, she has already thrown away some old stuff. But now she's dressing up this new apartment. She's putting up her artwork. She has new couches, new rugs. She's cleaned up this place where she hasn't quite moved in. So you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing her in her life where, have I really moved into this new space in my life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, now she has fully moved in and fully owned. I am in this space and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be dependent on anyone anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
also don't have to take treatment that I have not, that would make me feel unimportant
Yeah.
because I had that for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And now you disappearing, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
not
going
gonna
to
say
choose
it's
me.
okay. I'm not gonna say it's
Exactly. I'm
okay.
not going to say it's okay. And,
Mm-hmm.
and, and I'm not going to own the feeling that they would like to give a lot of women is that, oh, well, this might be your only chance. This is your only option. Oh, he made a mistake. Forgive him. No, Issa is choosing herself.
Yep.
And a lot of women do not do that. So I found myself just going back and forth in this middle, like, Brittany, would you take him back? Would you invite him in the house? Now, let me tell you, Issa didn't even let him in the house, y'all.
Nope, on the porch.
She stopped him. It wasn't even on the porch. She stopped him at least 10 feet away from her door and leaned on a pole. And he was confused. That let him know, oh, you're separate now from my place of peace. This apartment is my sanctuary now. I'm not letting you past this point, because then I'll actually fully let you in. And so I can just appreciate her doing that. And Nathan, wherever he is in this moment, he has to deal with, I left for a month.
And
I'm
there are
gone.
implications. There are
And there are
implications
implications.
to my choices.
And he let her know that I'm here for good. Like, I'm not ever leaving again.
Yeah,
But
well,
even
you've
in
lost
that,
some
Issa's
credibility,
like,
buddy. Sure you
you've
are.
lost credibility.
Yeah.
And I think this is also mixed in with when Issa was at the day after the Coachella event, which we will get into here soon. She sees Lawrence. And in that moment, she's seeing him. I think that Issa is starting to experience, I'm actually moving forward. She's getting this sense of, I see you and I see you differently now. I'm
It's a
different. You're
huge,
different.
it's a
It's
huge
huge.
piece of why she has the fortitude to walk away from Nathan, to put a pause on Nathan and say, you know
Yes.
what, let me spend some time with me and see what I really feel. It actually was quite wonderful to watch her growth in her relationship with Lawrence. You know, they there is, so the first time she sees him in the season, it's actually halfway, more than halfway through the season, when she runs into him. um and you know, it's the eighth of an 8 episode season. She runs into him in episode 5, so that just gives you a sense. It's late in the season where she encounters Lawrence.
Yep.
And she encounters Lawrence, and what ends up happening is they are able to, in a couple of different moments, have truly friendly, non-resentful exchange. You'll
Yeah.
recall at the end of season 2, they had, right at the very end,
Yeah.
an opportunity to really voice a lot of things. Part of it was done in anger, and also there was a moment where they had a chance to, in peace, voice
Yes.
some, you know, the things that worked and the things that didn't work in their relationship. And so now we get to see what happens after that. What happens after you actually have some space for closure. And so there are at least a couple of different moments where they have truly friendly exchange. Part of it is in that exchange the day after Coachella, their Coachella experience. Part of it is at that birthday party, the baby
Baby
shower
shower.
that we mentioned earlier. Tiffany has a baby shower, and of course, it's a moment where all the characters come together.
Yes.
She has an opportunity to see Lawrence there, and they have a truly friendly conversation. And in fact, he gives her a little bit of encouragement about, yeah, it's hard being an entrepreneur. Get your block party idea going, do it, girlfriend. You know.
Yeah.
She has another moment where she literally invites him to coffee, and they sit
Yep.
down and they have a truly friendly, forward-looking set of
Yes.
eye conversations. Whereas every conversation they'd had before was about the we. They had some very forward-looking eye conversations.
So good
We
to point out.
we get some insight into how Lawrence is doing.
Yes.
Lawrence has been dating, and boy has he been dating. I mean, he's been having so much casual and unprotected sex that he ends up with chlamydia. Okay, he ends up with chlamydia.
Listen, wrap it up,
Yeah, do
people.
it, folks. Come
Which,
on, we don't
if
know
we
that yet.
can, if
Hey,
we
I
can
mean,
really pause just for a quick second. I don't know if you've noticed that, but through these 3 seasons, I don't see pauses for condom putting
nope,
on in this show.
I don't
I
see it
don't
either.
see it. And I was like, I said, Brittany, I guess I'm just supposed to imagine that many of them are.
I don't
But for
think
a
you
lot of
are.
these
I
steamy
think this is
scenes, I'm
unprotected
like,
sex.
a lot of them are having this unprotected sex.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, I really wanted to point that out, that you guys wrap it up.
I mean,
Okay.
I can't even believe we still have
There's
to say this.
there's so much. Just
God,
wrap it up,
just
please.
please.
And there's so many condoms out there that are for pleasurable moments for both ends. Wrap it
Listen, I don't
up.
care. Listen, allow there to be a reduction in
Because
pleasure to have a level of an increase in safety.
we know it's not 100%, but let's say,
Oh,
hey, it's a
come
lot more
on.
percent
I
than
listen.
zero.
I
It's a lot
listen.
more.
Ain't nobody got time for that in these cootie filled streets.
It needs
Nobody.
to where new things are being developed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Especially in your childbearing years. Come on. Get it together, folks.
Listen,
Anyway,
wrap
you
it
know,
up. Just
wrap
want to put
it
that out
up.
there.
Why do we
That's
even
all.
have
Just
to?
want to
But
put that
yeah,
out
wrap it.
there.
So Lawrence, has to get the wake up call. Hello, wrap it up. But it ends up being a moment where he has a bunch of revelations. He then
Yes.
tries to go back to church. It turns out not to be a good fit, but he does try to go back to church. He ends up, and he's doing fine at work, by the way. We see that Lawrence is thriving. Entrepreneurship didn't pan out, but for
Mm-hmm.
him, his employee life is thriving. Um, he is
And
starting
they did
to.
not bring back Aparna. Did you notice that?
We ain't seen no Aparna.
She was not around. I did not know
Mm-mm.
what happened. She just disappeared on him.
Yeah, which they had a clear breakup
It was
in
gone.
season 2.
Yes.
And he didn't listen. He was not a withering flower.
At
He
all.
took it to the streets. Big time,
Okay.
big time. He's making up for that lost time when he was in that relationship. And we see Lawrence in his exchange with Issa. It is not just an acknowledgement of Issa's evolution. It is an acknowledgement that Lawrence is also evolving, which
Absolutely.
I really, really appreciated. And sis, I got to do a quick shout out to the soundtrack.
Please.
Okay, let me just
Please.
let me just take a
Quickly.
moment. Let me take a
Please.
moment because listen, we could do a
Yes.
whole refresher just on soundtrack because the soundtrack of this show is so good.
It's so good.
But there was a song that they played in episode 3. Love is Stronger Than Pride. It is a Sade song, but it is remade by Amber Mark. And you did your thing, Amber Mark. Nobody, first of all, nobody should remake Sade songs because that was a Sade song. But if you are going to remake it, do it the way Amber Mark did it because she did it. She did it correctly. And what that song is, it
Mm-hmm.
says love is stronger than pride.
Whew.
And what we see happening for both Issa and Lawrence is self-love.
Mm.
Because what Issa is saying
See, don't
is,
have me run down the street and come back. Because
girl,
that's
you
what
may
you're about
have
to
to.
do.
You may
That's
have to
what
go
you're
get the
about to
victory
do.
because you know what? They are finding that they learn how to have I love. Not we love, not
Yes.
I love you. I love me.
Yes.
And so
Mm.
their friendship evolving is an acknowledgement that they are starting to love themselves, and that self-love is stronger than any other kind of love.
Whew.
And so it changes the equation and it changes the dynamic in their relationship.
Yes.
Were you surprised to see that, sis? What was your reaction to this? To Issa and Lawrence, because there are a couple points where it looks like they kind of want to get back together, but then they fight it. Lawrence starts to
Right.
think about it, then he fights it. What was your did you think that they were going to have a relapse this season, or what did you think of the fact that they managed to keep it friendly?
I you you have, how do I say this? I don't want them to have a relapse. I did not want them to have a relapse
Neither.
because I just knew that it would complicate things.
Yep.
However, I wanted them to start to fall into a new healthy love,
Mm-hmm.
a new evolved love that shows both of their evolution as people, as their own person, and be able to start to appreciate each other in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Almost give this opportunity to be with someone as they're living their best life. So you're both living your best life together. Or
Yeah.
just even as you're figuring things out. So I'm going to respect you differently.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually just watching a video with I am Tabitha Brown. She's so funny. She's like this vegan cook. She's also an actress. She's amazing. And so I was watching a video of her husband Chance. and them just talking about them getting together. And at the close of the video, the individual who was her brother that was doing the interview, he said, what is some advice that you would give people? They both said, one of the things they said was that we wouldn't have moved so quickly. Now they've known each other their entire lives. However, they got together officially and got married when they were, I believe it was 24 or 25.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that we grew up together, meaning that we tell people now, if you are young, wait a little bit to get to know yourself and to know who you are. And I
Yes.
think in this moment, you have Lawrence learning himself and knowing who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Issa learning herself and knowing who she is and starting to become more comfortable in who she is, and realizing that there are certain energies she's been letting into her life that may not be the proper thing for her. And so getting a chance to see those two come back together when they're individually healthy, I was like, if this could work while they're individually healthy,
yes,
their arguments will be different, their
yep,
time together will be different, just their conversations will be different. We're both dreaming now. You're
yeah,
not just dreaming about woo woo and I'm just working at this job. No, I'm dreaming about this block party and you're ready to create a new app. Like,
yes,
these are things we'll be together in such a better spot. So yes,
mm-hmm.
I love that question, but I did not want them to relapse in an unhealthy way to
Yeah,
where we're now starting a new tower of regret. I want us to come together in a space that is like, I see you for who you are now, and I'm for who you are in your present,
mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to go forward. Not, oh, this is who you were in the past. No, I'm seeing you who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yes,
I
that was a
love
great
that.
question. I love
I
that.
love that. And and they're doing it. They're having this experience, these personal development, true moments of personal development. And we're watching their friends kind of go through some of this,
We are.
So we talked about Tiffany's baby shower. We nodded to it. Tiffany and Tiffany Dubois and her husband Derek Dubois, they are having a baby. So we see that evolution.
Which is hilarious.
It's so funny. And then Lawrence is having his friend Chad. He was engaged at the end of last season. I think her name was Lena. We still ain't met her. But
Aaliyah.
we still ain't met
Leah.
her, but they done broke up. Because he had like a really, a a bachelor party,
Honey.
where he was doing too much with strippers. She found out, broke up with him. He grovels. They have a whole. We find out that they're back together. We're actually at an event with her. And we still don't get to see her. So I love that. I love that. I love that they're doing that. Where there's this really present character that is actually moving storyline. We ain't met her. We don't know what she looks like. And then that's actually good segue to, and also Kelly, should just mention Kelly. Kelly's also still in her searching season.
Yes.
Trying out different guys. We get to see her office though. Clearly she's a nice window to office accountant. She's doing her thing at a financial management firm. But that's good segue to Molly, because we end up, we're seeing like these friends outside of Issa and Lawrence also having this evolution. So Molly had a lot go on this season, sis. A lot.
Yes, she did.
She really did.
We start off with Molly on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
That vacation that she was talking about at the end of last season, she went on that vacation.
Yeah,
and she had a vacation bay. She got a break. She had a vacation bay, and this break was right in between her leaving her old firm and beginning at a new all-black firm.
Yes.
So you're seeing Molly now in this space where she is cutting dudes off left and right.
Mm-hmm.
She is like, Quentin, done with him. Bloop.
We ain't see him this season.
He's out of here. Blah, blah. She said, I'm cutting all these people off. Even there was a vacation guy that she was dealing with. She thought he was from the island that she was on. And he was like, I'm from Ohio.
And he's like, I was going to be in LA. And she was like, I clearly don't care because I'm leaving you on this island.
we're done. So, she is in a space now where she's like, you know what? I'm done with men for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not continuing in unhealthy situations or just wanting to be in them. I'm trying to figure things out. I really don't believe in love right now because of all I've learned about my parents. I am done. So what am I doing? I'm focusing on becoming a partner. Well, we see Molly in this professional standpoint. Molly is which my I love the way my sister put it, is a shark, you guys. She is aggressive about her professional life. And her goal is to become a partner. And so Molly now at this all black firm that she is finding that they're not as technology forward as the other firm that she has been at for years. And so she's having to understand some of that. And saying that so much so that even she says different things like, oh, we just didn't do it like that in my old office, to the point where she's not realizing she's saying it all the time until they kind of tease her about it during a meeting. That, oh, I guess it wasn't like at your old office. So you're seeing Molly
And it
transition.
was teasing to make a point.
It was teasing to make a
It
point.
wasn't lighthearted teasing.
Right. It was like, girl, you need to let that go. You're
Yeah.
here now.
Yeah.
Where it's a little different.
Got
It's a
it.
little
Got
different.
it. Got it. You were elsewhere. Got it. You're here now. Come on.
And
Ugh.
her transition into this workplace, she's trying to figure it out. But what Molly is just very used to doing in her by nature is getting things done and moving and excelling at a quick pace. And so she is someone like Janai and I, we've discussed off camera because just that's what we do all the time, right? But she is someone that she grew up in the hood. So when you have that, I've come from started from the bottom. Now we here. I'm at an apartment complex. I grew up in my parents' house, probably a couple bedrooms. Now I'm in a beautiful one bedroom, an apartment complex downtown with a door with a doorman. I am at a different place, and I know that I have to be aggressive to keep where I am. It's important for me to be where I am, and I want to do the most with it. And so you see her in this workplace, but what that does is that aggressiveness that we may celebrate in some circumstances, you see it not being celebrated, and it actually causes some aught between her and other associates that are in the office. And so Molly makes a statement where she says, I don't want to be like the two other women that I see stuck during these certain cases. She said, I am on partner track.
At
That's
the
what I want.
associate level. Stuck at
Right.
the associate level.
I don't want to be stuck here. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go forward. And she sees one of the young men that are there. He's on partner track. So
Mm-hmm.
she's trying to get on that team. But as she's doing those things, you're seeing her rub certain people kind of the wrong way. And
Meaning
Janaya, I
everybody.
think, meaning everybody. And so I think that, Janaya, I love when you speak on this because as someone yourself who is in a professional atmosphere and being on track in the executive world, like, please speak more on what you believe Molly is experiencing and feeling
Mm-hmm.
as she's moving forward in this track.
Yeah, I so much of what Molly deals with is I identify with her character a lot professionally. And there are ways that I see myself in her, and there are ways that I see many of my girlfriends in her. Like she is one of those people that is constantly, when you are a professionally aggressive woman, people do start to make comments about you in a way that they're comparing you to male colleagues, um, but
Mm,
celebrating male aggressiveness in the office, and then in
yes.
comparing you, making you seem like you're doing too much. And so
Yep.
Molly talks about that. She talks about how aggressiveness is valued in men in a professional work environment, and for women it's looked down upon, and that the very act of wanting to have the same trajectory as a man in the workplace is something that makes you seem less favorable in the workplace when you're doing the exact same thing that a male counterpart would do.
Yes.
You know, we see her, you know, also dealing with what happens when, so she's talking with her therapist, and her therapist kind of calls her out and says, listen, you want so much to shine at work. What
Mm,
if the therapist raises this question with her where it's like, well, what if you were, instead of trying to shine, you were just trying to play a support role?
mm,
And you hear the therapist, you're like, okay, that's a valid question. But at work, people are always trying to put women in support roles. You know, look no further than the Fortune 500 companies. I mean, to the extent that you're seeing women of color in leadership, they're not always, but oftentimes they are the chief human resources officer. They're the chief diversity officer. It's
mm-hmm.
because people love to see us in support. So even in the executive space, we support the culture. Okay. You know, and so it's like, and listen, I'm talking about me. You know, this is the box I'm in right now. You know, so it's like, you know, I see what Molly's dealing with. And part of me is like,
Yeah.
yes, stop burning bridges. But the other part of me is like, why in the hell do your bridges get burnt just because you're doing what it takes?
Because you
So it's
wanted to
like,
go
stop,
forward.
stop, stop burning bridges, but at the same time, bridges, stop being so damn fragile. You know?
Stop being so
God,
fragile.
seriously. So I don't know.
Right?
It's really an unsolvable problem because
Yeah.
there's no way she's going to get to the partner track unless she does the things she's doing. Because we see
Yep.
the result immediately. She ends up taking some of the shine, and what ends up happening is working. The partners then start giving her more leadership, and her coworkers resent her, but it's working. So, you know,
What do you
so
do?
what do you do? I tell you what you do. You do what you got to do because at the end of the day, those coworkers, they're not living your life,
They're
you
not.
know? And so but it's unfortunate because while she's still angling professionally, she's still being collegial. She's still being nice. It's not like she's like, you know, being mean to people at work.
Right.
She's still a good colleague, but she's making I decisions. And that's what
Exactly.
people frown down on. So anyway, I get her,
Yeah.
you know, and her professional self is a lot of her identity. And
Yes. Yes,
so
it is.
you know, it is so funny because there was a point on when they were at Coachella where everybody was on drugs, and we got to kind of see, you know,
Yes.
who they are kind of amplified. And for 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 Issa, it was an entrepreneurial self emerged, and we
Yeah.
saw her being able to be a freer lover. Right, those are what emerged for her when
Yes.
she was on drugs. For Molly, what emerged was her being a
Oh, and also for Issa that she really cares about her friends.
big
She
time.
really, really does love them. And she's
It
very concerned about them.
very concerned, and that the Issa as a friend is a huge part of her identity.
Yes.
What we saw emerge
Yes.
from Molly was two things. We saw two extremes of her.
Yes.
One bit was about her being basically resentful about the way that she connects with people romantically and having a ton of baggage she's working through. And the other thing that emerged was her leaning into her professional identity. There she was, whacked out on Molly, typing on her laptop, typing gibberish, but in her drugged out state, one of her top priorities was performing well professionally.
Yes.
Obviously, you can't do it when you're high up on drugs, but she was attempting to. And so it's
She
so
was
much,
trying.
it's
Yeah.
so much of who she is professionally. Um, you know, so I get it. I get it. And I think it
Yes.
truly is an unsolvable problem. There is
Yes.
no way that I have seen to to be what everyone wants a Black woman to be in the workplace
Mm.
and have the trajectory of white men in the workplace. There's no way to
Oof.
do both.
It's so
You
hard.
have to pick a lane. And if anybody out there has figured out how to do both, you let me know because I ain't
Give
seen it.
us your email in the comments.
Yeah, please write a book so I can read it because I will tell you, I think for me personally, I think I am as close as a person could possibly be I think I watch all of my friends, everybody, we're all working so hard to be our authentic selves in the workplace, but there are just
Yeah.
some trade-offs you have to make. And I
Yeah.
and I think we're all hella close to whatever that potential balance could be, but nobody has found it because I don't think it's out there. So anyway, I
Yeah.
ain't hating on Molly at all. I
Listen,
get
at
it.
all, at all.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
I love
Nope.
what you said, just learning about Molly, who they were heightened, and while they were on Molly, because all of them
Hmm.
took drugs at that hotel party that we
She was
spoke
calling
about
herself
earlier.
Molly Squared because she was
It
Molly
was
on Molly. So
she
she's
was
also corny, which I
she's
love.
also a cornball.
Yeah,
So you do see that this is a great segue into Molly's romantic life,
absolutely.
because she does meet a new love interest at this party. But before we get to that new love interest, we really want to wrap up Dro. So in this moment, Molly is coming back from that trip. She is recentered. She is killing it at her job. Okay, she's might not be making any friends, but she's doing her doggone thing.
Yeah.
She's at a place right now where
She's
I'm
at a
cutting
place
off
where she
foolishness
takes her dog to the spa. That's where Molly
to the
is.
listen.
Her dog
Okay,
gets a spa day.
listen. He gets a spa day. What's his name again? Oh, I
Flavor
can't even think
Flav.
of her. Flavor Flav. I was about to say Prince. I was like, I know it's not Prince.
Yeah, I couldn't
It's
think
Flavor
either.
Flav.
Flavor Flav.
He is Flavor Flav. And so you see Molly now in this space where she still is dealing with Dro. And that's how we ended season 2. That Dro came
Hmm.
into the house, okay? And so if you were kind of on the fence about Candace knowing if Molly and Dro were doing it, you knew very clear when he was at Molly's house, laying in the bed after they had just got done doing it. And Candace calls and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm at Molly's house. I was just gonna chill here. Oh, okay, I'll see you later." It's like, what? You still see Molly's face every time where it's the same thing where it's like, I want us to be in this moment and be in it forever, but I know that this moment is not real.
Yeah.
So Molly tells him, I need boundaries. So he's like, okay, she's like, listen, either we're going to have sex and be cut buddies and that's it, or we're going to be friends and do these things. I can't do both because the waters get muddy for me.
Hmm.
So he's like, all right, fine. But in perfect man fashion, he wants to go out with Molly the next day after she gets this great thing that happens with her new job. And he wants to celebrate with her. And she's like, didn't I just tell you that I don't want to do this? He was like, I get it, but I still want to celebrate with
But
you
I
like
want
the
what I want.
And Molly is like, fine. But it ends up being the same night that she rides with Issa in the party Uber, and all of the fight ensues. And so they never do hang out. However, you see a transition. So season 2, she's picking out something cute, putting on something for Dro, ready for him to come over that night when we see her at the end of the season. She started doing that in this part of the season. Y'all, she ended up wearing this little one piece, hooded all over short set. It was a onesie short set. And she just looking like she would just be hanging out around her apartment.
Well, he
You
he
see
let
her,
himself in. He let himself in with his
he
own key.
let himself in with his own key. And she's like, when did you get in here?
That was what
But
that
even
was. Yeah.
that, and so she's in this, I'm not even getting dressed for you mode. She's really transitioning to being out of it, over it, and out over him. To where they do have this, he lets himself in and they have basically an argument. And you see, which I think that I don't know if they would explicitly say this, but Jerome is actually beginning to, he cares for her already because that's one of his oldest friends, but he is really starting to like Molly, almost just like it is a second relationship for him in a sense. So he's hurt by her saying boundaries and I need my key. And so basically, when she gets her key back from him, they're done. And so she is trying to move forward. And as is, we don't know what he's on because we don't never see Jerome unless it's around her until it was at the baby shower. We see her and Dro's interaction at the baby shower, and he is clearly upset with her.
Yep.
He is mad at her for creating boundaries that work for her. And so when you would want to see them have some type of, okay, you know what? I get it. This situation is not good for you. You don't see that from Dro. You just see him upset
And
that
that's
she
just so
doesn't want to
real.
be in. It's so real.
It's so, I
She
mean,
doesn't
it's the
want to be in this
exact,
space with him.
it's just like at work. When you are doing what you have to do for you, people
They don't
cannot,
like that.
it's very hard for people to be supportive. And it's the
They
same
do not
thing.
like
Dro,
that.
you want to be my friend, but you don't want to see me have boundaries.
You just want me to be okay with, I'm telling you, you're my oldest friend, so you know how my emotions work. So you don't want me to
Do what
have
I
a
have to
boundary
do.
to be okay for me. And so you see at this baby shower, Candace comes. And which is the one thing I did when I wanted to point out. It's so funny how friend groups grow. How this is actually, which one of some of my friends used to say, part of the friendship tree. So this is actually a friend bringing another friend into the friendship tree in that way. Because I'm like, wait a minute, Jerome is Molly's friend that she grew up with. And now he's friends. He's at Tiffany and Chad's birthday party and at the baby shower. I said, I just love how friend groups can do that.
But I
How they can
thought
start to mold
Candace,
together.
didn't Candace go to school with them all?
I don't know
Okay,
if
maybe I just
Candace.
projected that onto the relationship. What made me think that they all went to school together was that they
Mm,
had an exchange that was a sorority, the little playful
you know
sorority.
what? I
Um,
forgot about that part with Candace.
yeah, they had a little playful
Hmm.
moment where Molly and Candace acknowledged that they were in different sororities. And that
Okay.
made me, but I don't know, they never said that they went to school together, I don't think, but
They
it
never,
made me
yeah,
feel like
maybe.
Dro met her when they were all in school together.
Okay, like they all
Maybe I
went to
made
the
that up.
same college or
That's what
something.
I kind of felt.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I
So
don't know.
we'll see.
We
Well,
should look
listen,
into that. Yeah.
we'll figure that out. But with Joe, you're singing this. So Candace comes, and
Mm-hmm.
Candace is who Candace is. She's really sweet. She's never seems fake.
Absolutely.
Candace is always like, "Hey, what's going on?" And in this moment, Molly and Issa are having a conversation. She's like, "Oh, I feel like I ran into something. Well, I'm just gonna walk over here." Later on, you find out that Candace is pregnant, and Dro has said nothing about this. In their intimate discussions and conversations and times and friendships and hanging out and checking up and all these different things,
Did he know then? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. We don't know
maybe
whether he
it's
knew
new.
then.
But what it for her, it's like, oh, I think it's in her mind, like, I always knew that they were married, but this is different now.
Yeah.
This is married plus one.
Yep. Because even
And
Dro, her friend, before they started sleeping together, that's the kind of information she would have known about him.
yes,
So it's just like, oh, there's so many ways in which her finding out from someone other than Dro that they're having a baby kind of reinforces the fact that
hurts.
whatever was there before is gone. The friendship gone,
It's
the
gone.
sexual relationship gone. It's just one of those slicing moments of like,
Yes.
gosh, it's over.
We're
It's
we're we're,
over.
we're done now. We're
Mm-hmm.
done now. So that is really something to show the end of kind of where they are.
Yep.
Another part before we move from the baby shower, which would be the last part of the baby shower, is that we see Kelly in a different place. We know Kelly is fun. She says what's on her mind. She's constantly trying to figure out who her next endeavor is. Um, but we see Kelly in more of an emotional spot at the baby shower, whereas Tiffany has a new group of friends now. They're mommy friends, and they seem like they're more neighborhood friends, right? They're all more upper echelon,
Cul-de-sac
they're
friends.
they're cul-de-sac friends. They have the cute little manicured cupcakes. Everything is decorated perfectly. Everything is on handle. So they have a moment where the four of them at this baby shower come together. That Issa and Molly are not the closest with Kelly and Tiffany, but Kelly and Tiffany are close. You learn from Kelly that she is upset that she's having this baby, not the baby per se, but just the change it is creating in their relationships, which I think many women and people, period, who have friends that have kids, you can speak to that change. You go through the change when someone gets into a relationship. Then if that relationship progresses, you go through that change with them if it's engagement, then there's marriage, then there's children. You go through these steps with your friend and you see your relationship start to maneuver to try to understand this new normal.
And it's with
Sometimes things last. Yeah.
anytime you and your friend are at different places. It could be
Yes.
anything. It's at a different
Yes.
place in the professional cycle, a different
Mm-hmm.
place in a romantic relationship cycle, a different
Yes.
place even in family relationships. And so there's just the navigating of being in different places,
Yes.
and in this case,
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany and Kelly they're having less and less in common,
Yes.
because the one thing they didn't have in common was relationship status. Now they have parental status not in common. And so they just keep having less and less in common. And
Yes.
so there's a point where, Tiffany is struggling with her relationships changing because she has less in common with her
Yeah.
immediate friend group. And we see Kelly struggling with it as well. It's like, yeah, we have
Yeah.
less in common now. We have less to talk about where we're going to have things in common. And so
Yes.
it's another thing in our relationship that we have to overcome. Whereas,
Yes.
we had fewer bridges we needed to build before, and now we have more and more and more that we'd have to overcome to maintain our closeness. And are we up
Or
to that challenge?
yes. Or make the choice, which we begin to see really in Molly and Issa's relationship as we continue to talk about their friendships, is that as Issa is starting to find her own and become her own self and to grow, you start to see this dynamic of Issa and Molly shift. We're starting to see now why Issa used to be like, okay, you're right. She's starting to let Molly know, I don't agree with that. I don't think that that is the right trajectory for my life or the correct decision for me. Also, you're starting, which we've all seen right through the first two seasons, that Molly clearly is making more money than she is. But you're starting to see them have more conversation about that and what that looks like. Even to a place where when Issa's in between jobs, she becomes Molly's errand person. She becomes like an assistant for her doing different things to get stuff done. And so you're beginning to see this dynamic shift and this ground start to shake a bit and become a bit shaky, even to the
I didn't
point
see
where
that at all. Wow. Whoa. I
and
didn't see
and you
that.
and you
I
and
didn't see
you
that. I have always seen their relationship as one that was reciprocal.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I think about seasons one, season two, this season. I have always seen Issa being able to. I didn't see her as someone that Molly was running over. They acknowledged that they were economically in different places.
Yes.
But I don't have a feeling about the relationship that this was the first time that Issa was pushing back. I have always felt like they had push and pull, and that they have always told each other the truth as they saw it. Um, and so anyway, I haven't seen that. I didn't pick that up at all. I didn't see that
Yeah.
in the relationship, and even her running errands for her. I looked at it as, well, somebody has some free time, go do something. You know what I mean? Because I also feel like, just as when Molly had free time, Issa made her come sit in the Uber and ride around.
Which was hilarious.
Yeah, but
Right.
anyway, I didn't at all see Issa running errands as Issa becoming her errand person. I saw it as,
Oh,
between the two of them, there was some stuff that needed to get done, and Issa had more
right.
time.
Well, I will tell you this, the reason why I start to look at it in that perspective is their last conversation that they had at the end of the season, where Molly made the decision for her to not to allow Nathan to speak for her to speak. Now, it was with great intention.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, listen, you told me that this is your birthday. You don't want anything getting in the way. We're done with that. You're starting to heal from that. I didn't think that that would be the right thing to do, which we understand the intentions behind it. But we also see that there are this thing where it's like, you made this decision for me without me. Like you didn't give me the opportunity to make that decision for myself.
So Brittany, you don't think Issa would have done
No,
the
call me
exact
Issa,
same?
girl.
Yeah, please call me
Please
Issa.
call me Issa, because I'm in her
But
space, honey. I'm in her
Britt,
space.
you don't think Issa would have done the exact same thing?
I don't think Issa would have done the exact same thing. I think that she would
Wow.
have had a conversation with him. I think that it would have been the same conversation that they had later on, I'm assuming a few days later or whatever. But I think that it was more so you took that decision from me. You
I feel like Issa would have done the exact same thing. That if she had an opportunity to intervene on Molly's behalf to make
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, to tell him,
don't do this
no,
today.
don't do this. Right. And so with that being said, Issa would have probably actually absolutely done the same thing.
I
But
think
I think
so.
this is where we get into friendships where you're speaking about earlier. Do we do too much? Do we find this space where we're starting to try to think for the other person too much, and maybe not even acknowledging how they've grown or how they've changed or what we believe might be good for them? We begin to make these decisions for someone. And so I do absolutely agree that Issa would have done the same for Molly if Dro would have come up. And she was like, oh, no. She said that she was done with you. She blooped you. So,
Yeah, keep going.
Keep it moving. I believe that she would have done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in some standpoints, Issa can agree with that. But in the other breath, in that same conversation, and then throughout some of the season where Issa is thinking of this idea of the block party, Molly, at every point, as soon as Issa starts to give up, Molly doesn't encourage her to go forward. Molly is like, you need to get a real job and you need to get that up. You done with that little idea? She does not support her in the way her friend is needing in this moment, because it's a great idea. But she knows that the encouragement that she's needing, she's not giving it to her because she doesn't believe in this idea. So I
Wow,
just,
Brittany,
you're
this is such a reflection of you and I having different perspectives on things. Because I'm like, when I see Molly saying that, I don't see her poo-pooing the idea. I see her saying, meet your obligations first. I see her saying, yes, have a gainful employment. And also
Mhm.
launch your entrepreneurial effort. I didn't
But
hear
she
her
never
saying,
said the and also. She never said the
I
and
felt it was
also.
implied.
You, this is how people get messed up.
But
We be
this is
reading lines
also
and then we be trying to read between the lines. It's like, that's not in there. That's not in there.
see, I felt her saying what I felt her saying, and this is the kind of
Uh-huh.
this is not at all surprising that you and I have different perspectives on this. But what I heard her saying was,
If you all
if
haven't found
if
out,
you're
Jania's Molly, I am Issa. If you have not figured that out by now.
I don't agree with that either, sis. I feel like we both have tablespoons of each of them.
We do
I
have
do.
tablespoons.
I think
I
we
wish I
do.
had Molly's money.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good old tablespoon.
Give me that tablespoon.
Yeah, give me a cup. I'll take
Give
a
me
cup.
this.
I'll take a cup of that.
Take a cup.
What I felt Molly saying was, as your business plan comes to fruition, I'm here for you on that. But at the same time, I also know you flake on stuff. And while you're working that through, you need to have enough money to live. And it was the
Mm-hmm.
same thing Kelly said to her. Kelly literally said to her, you can't afford to live on your own paying what a typical rent is.
Yeah.
If she had not started looking for property manager jobs so that she could have a decreased rent, she wouldn't even have been able to live on her own. And so what I heard Molly saying is have an independence financially, have enough, but also do these other things. And so it's so funny. I didn't hear Molly poo-pooing it. I heard her saying prioritize it in scope.
Mm-mm.
But
I didn't.
but as you, I hear your point though. I hear your point because she didn't explicitly say do both.
Right. I think that because even where it's a for Issa, it's a concept that she would love to bring to the neighborhood because we see something different. Even though Molly is from the neighborhood, her mindset is not quite in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
She volunteers in
Yeah.
the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Whereas Issa is not, she's from the neighborhood, but she was more middle class
Mm-hmm.
or up the hills in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And where now she's in it and she is passionate about it. And
Mm-hmm.
she wants to bring things to the area. And so
Wow.
I
This is so
it,
good. Yeah. Well, you know
so
what?
I
And you
think
mm-hmm.
oh go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I just think that Molly means no harm
Mm-hmm.
ever in the statements that she's making. But it's crazy how in these years that they've known each other, you still don't know how to communicate at Issa's level. Meaning like you don't, not saying that it's lower or something, but understanding how to speak to her. So if your heart is to say, listen, I'm gonna need you to get gainful employment. Okay, okay. I'm gonna need you to do this. I need you to get out of Daniel's house. Like, I don't want you to stop your dream, but I need you to see that these other things need to get handled.
Mm-hmm.
That's a conversation that you have to have with Issa's character. Like, it has to happen. But when you're shooting her things down, Issa does what she does best and she reacts. She reacts
Did
and she
she
gets
shoot
very
it down?
defensive.
I didn't see her shoot it down.
Listen, when we
I
are
saw
done with
her
this,
saying,
we're going to go back and we're going to watch together
no,
the
I believe
end,
it.
that last episode where she's like, oh, good, you're done with that idea. Issa's like, no, I'm not. My
Wow.
idea, like, it's like, I know, like, I've got these other things, I'm still going to do it.
Well, that's effed up
Even,
then. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. So
it's,
another important thing that happened in that episode was Issa calling out Molly, basically saying that Molly, you've changed. You used to be a person that could separate what you're going through personally from other things. And now I see that you're being cutthroat and kind of negative
yeah,
across the line. And so I do clearly remember her saying, you don't have any hope at all for me and Nathan because you're being negative about everything now.
yes,
And so you used to be able to at least have some optimism about other things, even if there were things negative happening. You're being negative about everything. And part of what she calls out in that moment, and this actually is a segue back to Molly's romantic life.
yes,
Part of what she
yes.
calls out is, well, you know what? You met Andrew. So Molly met Andrew while they were on Molly. Andrew is Nathan's friend. And they were high, they were at Coachella. But she and Andrew make a connection, at least to the point where he was able to listen to her while she was being a sad sap on drugs. And
On
so
drugs.
she was
And
being a
he
sad
learned
sack.
so much about her.
He took in a lot. And he asks her out back when they were back in regular life, non-Coachella life. He asks her out. She says, let me think about it. She goes out with him. And as they are engaging, he starts to bring up some of the things that she divulged while she was high, including about her relationship with Dro. She takes it very personally. She resents the intimacy that they gained while on drugs. It's so funny because Issa was
Every time you say
embracing.
on drugs, I'm like, no.
She resents what she shared, and she resents the fact that he has that information, and it makes her uncomfortable. She doesn't like that she shared that much, and so she ends up making that another reason to build a wall between her and Andrew. Another reason is that
Mm-hmm.
he's Asian, he's not Black, and that's a reason. And so she's looking for all these reasons to not be with him, when the truth is, when they're together, they have some chemistry.
Yeah, they do.
There's a point where they end up having a girlfriend's outing. No Tiffany, but the other three, Molly and Issa and Kelly, go out. They go out for Issa's birthday, and they go see The Last Dragon, this
Mm-hmm.
wonderful at this wonderful kind of outdoor movie screening. And
At a
um,
cemetery.
at a, at a cemetery, they do
I
this out.
said, now hold on. Now I'm not just about to go to our local cemetery and watch some movie. I know there's open plots and space, but I don't know how I feel about
And
that.
that's the kind of thing that does not, like, that's a very New York kind of like, oh, here's some space, let's use it for that.
Right.
So that didn't raise my eyebrow at all.
I was like,
I and they're what we end up seeing is Molly, she runs into Jared, and there's an exchange. Molly sees Jared interacting with his brother, and she assumes it is him interacting with a lover. She assumes it's a gay
mm-hmm.
exchange, and it isn't. It turns out it's his brother, and that Jared is actually there with a girlfriend, with his girlfriend, and the brother is there with his girlfriend. But it was, again, she went right to the most negative perspective from her view, because in her view,
Yes.
Jared being bisexual was negative. So I'm not saying
Yes.
bisexuality is negative. I'm saying in her
Right.
view, it
Yes.
was so detrimental to them, the possibility of them even being together.
Because for her, there is the way Molly sounds is that there's no such thing as
Yep.
bisexuality.
Yep.
It's that you are just gay. Like
Yep.
that is
And
it.
even Jared didn't even qualify himself as bisexual. He qualified himself as a straight man that had a gay experience.
An experience.
And she that in her mind was so detrimental to their
Oh
possibilities
gosh.
that as soon as she saw him, she looked in the environment for things that would reinforce the most negative thing for
Mm-hmm.
their possibilities. And so Issa calls her out on all of that. And at the
Yeah.
end, by the end of the season, Molly is actually on the phone with Andrew, being honest about that, saying, you know what, I have been in a place where I've been bringing the most negative perspectives to things, and I hope you can understand that. And by the end of the season, it looks
And she
like
apologizes.
she apologizes.
Okay,
It
yeah.
looks like Andrew can hear her, and so by the end of the season, he is actually an open question mark.
Yes.
Will they be able to get over it? It looks like he's going to be able to work it through, and that they might have a possibility.
Yes.
So she has a huge amount of evolution also. We see her going from having a hard time creating boundaries with Dro, to making those boundaries and living in the implications of whatever happens when she makes them. We see the pendulum swing to her projecting stuff on the Jared that ain't there,
Yes.
but then we see her having some self-awareness and being adult enough to own that with this conversation
Absolutely.
with Andrew, to at least create a possibility to see where things might go.
Yes.
you know so she goes through a lot, I would say.
She does. She does.
But anyway, so that's her set of, at the end of season at the end of season 3, the question marks around Molly. Will she be able to create balance and healthy relationships at work? What will happen?
Yes.
And then she has these romantic question marks. Will she continue dating Andrew? Will she be able to get to a friendship space with Dro?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes down to friendships, Molly
Yeah.
and Tiffany and Kelly and Issa, how will their relationships continue to evolve as a group? And in particular with Tiffany, and her really, really having less and less in common with her 3 core friends.
Yeah.
How will that play out? You know, I think those are like the
Absolutely.
main Molly question marks at the end. Are there other ones for Molly?
Yeah, and professionally, just will she continue to progress at work?
Mm-hmm.
Will she make friends
Mm-hmm.
at work that admire her drive? Will or is that even a desire?
Yeah.
Just for her to have that type of cordialness with her colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that is a big question. I will say I'm so happy you brought up the cemetery movie event. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so with the cemetery movie event, it is ran by a young woman named Condola, and Condola is someone that we first meet at Tiffany's baby shower.
Mm-hmm.
So unbeknownst to Issa, Condola is running this. And so at the end of it, Issa approaches her and is like, you know what? They're both having this exchange where it's like, I am just so excited that you have this. We need to bring more stuff like this to our side of town. We shouldn't have to travel for that. So Issa's like, how did you even do this? She was like, I was trying to do something like this for my neighborhood and I got discouraged and I got a ton of no's and now I'm kind of just over it a little. She was like, oh, I had them as well, but I just didn't take them and I kept pushing. So you see that they've made a connection now because she's going to help Issa with her block party and show her what to do, navigate her, give her contacts, things like that. She wants to get into that relationship. And so they do have that. And their final exchange, when they're having their first exchange talking about the block party, Issa is walking away encouraged. She
Yep.
is excited about this and she is ready to go. And to be within this space with someone that shares the enthusiasm and understands Issa's vision is pivotal because right now, the one that she had support with, Nathan, he
Gone.
disappeared. You tried to come back. We're
I'm
done.
back.
We're out of
Well,
that.
yeah.
Where you disappeared. At this point, he hasn't come back yet. And then you also have your friend, your closest friend, your best friend, who doesn't seem very supportive and keeps just calling it like an idea. So now you finally have someone that's jazzed up about what you're
And has
trying to do
resources and connections and experience
and
that's relevant.
yes. And so you're like, this is amazing. Well, at the end of that exchange, she leaves Issa by saying, well, I'm on my way to a date. Well, we find out that this here date is with Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of like, now there's this question. And it looks like her and Lawrence was having a good time for the 2 seconds we saw them on this date. So now
Mm-hmm.
you're like, what
And
does that mean?
Lawrence is meeting her after he's had a couple of revelations about who he is from a dating perspective. He's
Yep.
done with casual dating. He tried an extreme of dating a church girl that didn't pan out. So he's meeting Condola at a time where he could take it seriously.
Yeah.
And so Condola is meeting Issa at a time where professionally she could take Condola seriously. And at a time, Lawrence is meeting Condola at a time where he could take her romantically seriously. So she's entering into the beginning of what could be a depth of relationship with both Issa and Lawrence. And this point, the three of them don't know that they've made their way into some kind of triangle yet
Just
again.
some type of
Yet
triangle.
again, a
They
triangle
don't
has
know
emerged with Lawrence and
what is
Issa.
happening right now. I think that that is a question.
Big one.
One thing as we're coming to a close and we're getting more so what questions that we're expecting in season 4, I do want to make clear for Lawrence that we have learned about him. Lawrence is which we've already gathered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence is very relationship centered. And that he
He
wants
tried casual, got chlamydia,
got
didn't work out.
chlamydia.
Now we're back to
He
relationship Lawrence.
Yes, which we see the root of relationship with Lawrence is because his parents have been married for years. But here's the thing about Lawrence, which we see in Molly. It's so funny how these stories intersect and parallel. He has seen from his parents, like, I just want to find somebody that's like mom, no baggage. And his dad says to him, no baggage. He was like, me and your mother came together with immaculate luggage. What do you mean?
Plenty of baggage. And we did hard work.
We did hard work. He said he calls out something very, very. I don't want to say significant, but the father's statement is that that's what's wrong with your generation. You don't want to try to make it work. Everybody's coming in with something, and to see Lawrence's view of what perfection is, to see him start to have to question that, because I think that that's a lot of times what happens to women is that we can't come into a relationship banged up by life, right? With bruises and scars and issues and walls and all these different things, we're constantly being told, you need to let that go. And then you're going to get the one. Many men don't get the messaging of, just like you're coming into the relationship with some hurt, some walls, some banged up, this, and that, expectations. She has the same thing, and it's okay. It doesn't mean anything different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate that exchange that Lawrence had with his father, because I believe that that's also a large part of his evolution, even in dating Condola, because Condola is divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And Lawrence is like, no, I don't have an issue with that. That wasn't anything that would turn me off, because she was concerned that that would be an issue for him. So I just, so for Lawrence, wrapping him up, questions of, what does that interaction look like?
Mm-hmm.
Him and Condola. Is that going forward? What are his interactions going to continue to be like with his friends, who
Mm-hmm.
will tell you, hey, be in these streets, Chad, but
Mm-hmm.
Chad is begging for his wife back.
Mm-hmm.
So you're wondering, and will he continue to progress and be at peace professionally?
Yeah.
Because right now he's doing well.
Yep.
So just wondering and then what will him and Issa's relationship look like?
Yeah.
How will their friendship continue to blossom, because they are in the same circle, and
Mm-hmm.
that will be forever. That they will
Yeah.
continue to run in the same circle.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
then
so yeah,
and that's one of the open questions with Issa, is what will her relationship be with Lawrence? Other one is
yes,
what will happen with her with Nathan. You
girl.
know, she didn't tell him a flat out no. She said she needed some time. And also what will happen with Issa and Daniel? Will they be able to continue to have a friendship, or will they just be over? And
Yeah,
they just, or will they go back into another one of their cycles of let's go deep again, you
yeah.
know? And then professionally, Issa's questions are about the block party. We see her getting some momentum at the end. Will it be enough that she can move straight into entrepreneurship along with her part-time property management job, or will she need to get another full-time job? And if she does, will it be with Beat Crew, that nonprofit that she
Mm,
discovered that was musically centric, but also working with youth and seemed to have a better sense of cultural competency than her
mm-hmm.
prior organization? And then separate from all of the main characters of the show, and since we have neglected to talk about
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
through all three of these refreshers, we forgot to talk about like the little television show that they always, so
Yes.
they
I
had,
literally was about to bring that
this
up.
is
Yes.
another open question. So they
Yes.
had in prior seasons, there was a show called Due North that was a slavery
That
black
was
show.
season 2, I think. That
Season
was
two, they
season 2.
had Due North going, which was a black show that everybody was watching. And it was about slavery. And it was about, one of the main storylines was a black slave, a female slave
Yes.
being in
Uh,
love with
Her real
her
name is
slave master,
Regina. What is her last name?
Hall.
But Regina
I
Hall,
think it's
that's it.
Regina Hall. I think
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Um, and she does, and it's so funny, and it's so
It's
good.
so funny.
It's so good, and the person she's playing opposite of is what is his name?
I can't think of it.
He was in
He's one of
he
those
was in
people who has so
Scandal.
many roles.
He was in Scandal. He was a main character in Scandal. But anyway, so we'll pull
Yeah,
it up. We'll pull it up. So
we'll
when
pull it up.
before
Yes.
we post this on YouTube, we'll add his name. I can't think of it. And so, but anyway, so in season 3, they are not watching the slavery show Due North anymore. Now they're watching a show called Kevin, and it is a reboot of like a
Yes.
90s show.
Yes.
And I just love that they're doing that, because that's what's happening.
It's literally
It's
what's
either a
happening.
slavery show or a reboot of an old show. That is what happens in black television.
Scott Foley.
Thank you, Foley.
Foley, thank you.
Yes.
Scott Foley.
And I'm a
Just
fan
looked
of
him up.
his. Yeah.
And also who was in that Due North show was Michael Jai White.
Yeah.
And he falls on the floor. I hate slavery.
I hate, I hate
It's
slavery.
so funny. And in the first season, they
Woo!
had a reality show about women who were in jail. And
Yes,
that
that's
was
what it was.
it's so funny because I meant to talk to you about it before we started. And
We kept forgetting.
we
And
can't
listen,
forget it. I'm so
that is
happy you said
why,
something.
listen, and here Molly, the Molly in me has created comprehensive notes this because there was so much good stuff that we were missing.
It's so
And
much
so
good
we
stuff.
actually have like comprehensive notes that
Yes,
are
you
typed up here.
guys.
And that's the only reason I remembered, because you need comprehensive Molly type notes to make sure you cross
You
the T's,
do.
not the I's.
You do.
So anyway, it's Kevin. And then who's in it though? They
Okay,
have
Erica Alexander.
there you go.
You have Daryl M. Bell,
Oh,
who
which we
is
love
from a
him.
different world.
Yeah, different world.
Bill Bellamy,
Mm-hmm.
and also the show's executive producer, one of them, Prentice Perry. He is in there as well.
So good.
It's so
And
him
it's just,
popping
and you
out the
only
casket.
see
It's just
little,
what's happening right
you
now.
get little snippets of it,
Yes,
but it's funny.
it is.
It's good. It's relatable. So they had, yeah. So those are the three shows that they've had. So that to me, when we're talking about open questions for season 4, it's like, what new kind of show are they going to come up with?
What new shenanigans are they coming up
Because
with?
it's so good and fun that they do that. Like these little shows within the show, I love it. And that's
Yes,
just one
I'm
more
so
evidence
happy
of
you
like
brought that up.
the
Yes.
genius of this show and why it's
Mm-hmm.
so good and why it really could run very long. You know, there are
Yes.
certain shows that you're like, okay, 4 or 5 seasons, you got the gist. But because these characters are so complex and because the show has background elements that are complex, like neighborhood
Yes.
gentrifying, shows being on the air that are capturing the moment in
Yes.
television, because they keep doing things like that, it makes it feel like a show that could run a while. And I'm happy
Yeah.
for them about that because that's good.
Yes.
That's very good.
It's so good.
So good.
Um,
Ah.
One last question I do have is about Daniel. Will
Mm-hmm.
we continue to learn more about him or will his storyline be completely done? You
Right.
know, will he continue to be successful? One thing we do see about Daniel is that Issa is known by his family. She is not just someone that has, kind of been a part of his life. No, they grew up together. So
Absolutely.
his sister is aware of her and their story and their life together, what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to meet more of Dane, you get to meet his family. So you're
Yeah.
you're learning more. So will he be successful? Will we continue to learn about Daniel? Will his
Mm-hmm.
storyline intertwine or will it be a whole separate situation? You just never know. You
You
just
never
never
know, but you
know.
feel like he's coming back.
Yes, you do.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I think we hit all
this
the
has
main
been great.
things. Yeah, I
Listen,
think
this
we
has
hit the
been great.
questions.
And I just love it. I love talking about you got a chance to see how we really are in terms of our discussions of things. And I just love it. I love it so much. We had such a good time. Thank you so much for being with us through season 1, 2, and 3 of Insecure, our refreshers. I am absolutely looking forward. So we're going to be back with season 4, but now we're different. We're going episode by episode. So absolutely looking forward to that. You will get a chance to meet our big brother. So I'm totally excited about that as well.
I mean, he's
But
all right.
he's all right. We love him. His
He's the
name is
best.
Aubrey. So we're so excited about
He's the
that.
best. Yeah.
But Janai, please let everyone know what social media they can reach you on and what your handles are.
Yes, I'm the only Janiyah Wright on Instagram and also on Facebook. Yay!
Excellent. And YouTube as well, which her information is
Hmm.
attached in the credits that we have down at
I
the
mean, if
bottom.
you really just wanted to get a comprehensive view of me, you could go to janiyahwright.com. Get all the deets.
There it is, all the deets. And then I am Brittany Be Right Breeze on all social media. That is Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. I'm on all those things. My website is still being built, so I won't send you there.
But
It
it's
is
coming
under
together.
construction, but it is coming together.
Gonna be
So
cute. It's gonna
we
be cute
it's
when
gonna
it's
be on point.
done.
It's gonna be on point. And right now it looks like a funeral site, but
Yeah,
that's
it's
what's
not great
great.
yet, but it's gonna get
It
there.
is. It's gonna get there. So
It definitely
again,
looks like it's mortuary services currently,
yes,
but that's okay.
I'm coming
What
out
did
of
we
that.
learn from
I'm coming out of
Insecure? We
that.
are all a work in progress. And that's what that
Listen,
website is,
as is
sis.
my
It's going to be
website.
good.
You always encouraging me and
Because
stuff.
it's going to
That's
be
what's
good.
up.
It's
That's
going to
what's
be real
up.
good. Trust.
So
Trust.
we really appreciate you all for taking this journey with us, and we will see you guys in season 4.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.